First at 5. From the University of Florida's College of Journalism and Communications, you're watching WUFT News.
These people roll up, get out the car, bam, 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 boom!
Shots fired at a Gainesville man's home overnight. We'll tell you his story.
A fiery wreck on I-75 in Gainesville paralyzes traffic for hours. That's our top story for December 1st. We'll explain why people might still remember this wreck on Christmas Day.
Good evening, I'm Alexa Lorenzo.
And I'm Janae Muchmore. The good news, despite a devastating scene, there was no loss of life. Countless drivers felt the pain of another total shutdown of I-75 caused by a crash between the Newberry and Archer exits. It took many hours to clear all the lanes, adding major congestion to the morning commute in Gainesville.
Now, the crash happened in the middle of the night, 3:30 a.m., when two semis collided.
The wreckage rolled into the median and beyond, with the worst part being that both trucks caught fire. WUFT's Isabella Pico joins us in the studio now with what affected drivers saw at the scene.
If you were late getting to your destination this morning, you know how badly traffic backed up with the interstate paralyzed in a detour through town. Drivers were eventually passed by the scene, were amazed by how little was left of the big rigs.
Two semis crashed and caught fire early this morning on I-75 in Gainesville. The wreck and huge fire stopped traffic both ways. One lane northbound reopened after daylight, but southbound lanes took many hours to clear.
It looked like the skeleton of a truck, like there was nothing there.
Gainesville Fire Rescue says the fire itself took an hour to put out with so much diesel fuel and no fire hydrants handy.
They do have a large amount of diesel on the vehicles that can catch fire, and that's what happened in this case, and then it sets the whole thing off.
The three people involved, two drivers and one passenger, were able to walk away with minor injuries before everything burned. Both trucks were southbound before the wreck, and other southbound drivers on I-75 were stuck in traffic for up to 9 hours.
Since the accident happened early this morning, the lanes of traffic have slowly been clearing up. Now, one of the two semis involved in the accident was a U.S. mail truck. So the question is, what happens to all of those people's mail?
The Postal Service was not available for comment, but representatives were called in to see if there was anything to salvage.
Especially now in the holiday time, I'm sure there were gifts out there, and I hope anyone affected gets notified that their gifts are either okay or they'll be reimbursed or something.
The Highway Patrol is investigating the cause of the crash.
We know from the I-75 Release Task Force that the portion from Hernando through Alachua County sees a total closure on average once every 9 days. That study group noted a third of the truck traffic involves empty rigs, like one of the two involved today. It said the cargo industry needs better logistics with more use of rail, then maybe some truck-only lanes if I-75 expands.
Thank you, Isabella. Shots fired at a north central Florida home, a family of 5 inside sleeping. WUFT's Morgan Reiner spoke with the homeowner about what led up to the gunfire on this Gainesville street. Morgan?
Janae, it was a scary situation for one Gainesville family. The homeowner tells me he thinks it's retaliation for his effort in cleaning up his street.
At least 7 shots. That's what homeowner Tom Wade and his family woke up to overnight.
These people roll up, get out the car, bam, 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 boom!
The act all caught on tape. You can see one shooter firing.
Until these people are put behind bars, I don't know how much sleep we're going to be getting around here, really.
It all started earlier in the night. Wade says he spotted what he says was a prostitute. He used his home security system to scare the woman away. This message:
please leave the area immediately. The police have been notified. This is your only warning.
Blaring from his speakers. Wade says he has been trying to rid his East Side neighborhood of prostitutes for years. Last night was the first time it turned violent.
Our officers are definitely going to be increasing patrols in the area. It's not something that we want to just come in, do an investigation, and leave.
Keys to the case: 7 9mm shell casings and home surveillance video of this red car. Wade hopes GPD can find the shooter and crack a case he says stems from this prostitution problem.
Prostitution in Gainesville has been something that's been happening for years, and we've done different things along the years to combat it.
The investigation is still ongoing. Gainesville police plan to use social media to find the shooters. If you have any information, you're asked to call the tip hotline at 352-393-7700. Live in the newsroom, Morgan Reiner, WUFT News.
Morgan, thank you. It's the most wonderful time of the year, and December usually means plenty of chilly weather in store.
But that's not the case as we continue to enjoy the Florida sunshine. WUFT's Grayson Jarvis is live in the Weather Center to tell us how long the warm weather will stick around. Grayson?
Well, ladies, we have a few more days of these very warm conditions. However, a big change that's on its way that could be bringing some lower temperatures to the area. That's a very strong front that's going to be moving through mainly next week. That could be dropping us down up to 20 degrees both during the day and night, primarily getting here around Wednesday. Now, while I look at radar outside right now, nothing that could be affecting us right now, except you can see up there a small cell outside of Tallahassee. That's because of a shortwave trough moving through that. We could see a little bit of effects from tonight, but it shouldn't be too big of an issue. Temperatures outside right now, 78 in Gainesville, 70 in Ocala, 79 in Bronson. And you're hour by hour going into the rest of this evening. By 6 p.m. we're down to 71, and by midnight we're down to 61. Back to you.
Grayson, thank you. New today in the Russia investigation, former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn pleaded guilty to lying to the FBI about meetings he held with the Russian ambassador. He's the first person who actually worked in the Trump White House to face any charges in the investigation. Flynn arrived at federal court this morning in D.C. admitting his actions were wrong. President Trump has repeatedly dismissed the investigation as a witch hunt. Flynn is now the fourth person charged, while special counsel's Robert Mueller's sweeping investigation into Russian election meddling and Trump campaign ties continues.
On Capitol Hill, the Senate Majority Leader says Republicans now have enough votes to pass their tax bill. NBC's Tracy Potts has the story from Washington.
Scrambling behind closed doors.
This is perfectly normal. Part of politics is drama.
There were 4 Republican holdouts on the tax plan. Now Arizona's Jeff Flake says he's a yes after Senate leaders and the Trump administration agreed to work on young immigrants brought here illegally, the DACA debate.
There's probably enough votes right now to pass it, and
without yours.
I think so.
Majority Leader Mitch McConnell announced midday they've got the votes after reportedly agreeing to bigger tax breaks for small businesses and property tax deductions up to $10,000. Critics complain it's a big rush.
We don't even know what the bill is. As of now, nobody can tell you what's in this bill. It's absolutely ridiculous.
There has been a lot of thought over a long period of time, not only months, but years, literally years of work.
Here's what's on the table: cutting individual tax rates, doubling the standard deduction, expanding the child tax credit, but ending deductions for state and local taxes and medical expenses.
Also, still a concern tonight, adding $1 trillion to the deficit, with less than half of that paid for under most projections.
And Gainesville residents gathered at St. Patrick's Catholic Church to call for ending the Florida death penalty. People in attendance lit 352 candles. Each candle represents one of the 352 inmates on Florida death row. Now, just a couple months ago, Ralph Wright Jr. was one of those inmates. He was released after the state Supreme Court exonerated him in a 2007 murder crime. Anti-death penalty groups in Florida hailed his release, saying the death penalty devalues life and imperils innocent lives.
Prior to that, I spent over 20 years in law enforcement and in the military. Never in my wildest imagination did I ever imagine I'd find myself on the other side of my own badge, accused of something I didn't do.
Yesterday's gathering was part of a national event called Cities for Life Day. This was the first time it was celebrated in Gainesville. And now a local treasure in Micanopy is finally reopening its doors.
It's the beginning of a new chapter after a fire burned half the building down almost a year ago. WUFT's Shamarian Morrison joins us now to tell us about the opening day of Antique City Mall.
Yeah, there weren't as many people as they expected, but I did talk to vendors and shoppers that were there that day to ask them about the excitement. Under new ownership and a new name, Antique City Mall, formerly known as Smiley's, is ready for customers.
Novel little things like that, little finds.
Vendors are unpacking boxes and stocking shelves for the opening day of Antique City Mall. Even pneumonia wouldn't stop vendor Mary Sue Rister.
Just so excited. So excited. I'm supposed to be home in bed. I missed going in the hospital this much.
Ed and Deidre are former vendors but came back as customers to shop for antiques.
I like it. I think it's nice.
Very nice.
I'm waiting to see it fill up, you know, more to look at.
The Antique City Mall not only has retail space to sell things like this Florida cheerleader, but it also has an auction site of over 8,000 feet. Booths are still being built, but owners Art and Carol Atkins say opening these doors means so much.
Hope Antique City Mall continues on with the legacy they have here. I know it means a lot to the Micanopy community. I know it means a lot to the dealers that are coming in here and the customers. We're getting phone calls daily.
The transitions from vendor to owner for the Atkins has been unique.
I go to bed thinking about it. I dream about what I need to do, and it's just very exciting to be able to have this as a business.
City Mall will ultimately have more than 100 vendor booths on the west side of the store after construction.
We're good to go. Still a lot of work to do here.
There was still a lot of construction going on while we were there, but they do expect to finish building by the end of December.
I'm gonna just have fun. My main objective today is just have fun.
Coming up on WUFT News First at 5, a group of athletes raising money for a great cause.
Plus, Tom Petty's Malibu home is up for grabs. We'll tell you how much it's going for.
And we won't be waiting too much longer for it to start feeling like December. I'll tell you when the temperature is going to change coming up.